Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth. And today I'm saying Smallville got right what the DCEU got wrong. So I'm just waiting for some people to roll in maybe so we can have this conversation. I like to talk before people come in because people are going to come back and watch the video after it's done. Hello, whoever that is. Yes, today I'm saying Smallville got right what the DCEU got wrong. That's the statement I'm going with tonight because Smallville ran for a decade. There was a plan. Originally, it was supposed to be a Batman show, but Alan Miles came in and they had this whole pitch for a pre-Superman story, a coming-of-age story. Now, Alan Miles, the guys who launched the show, were there for 7 years, and then their understudies, Kelly Salders and Brian Peterson, took over. The show just went really, really well. And it was an amazing show, not just because of what they did with the Superman element and the Lex Luthor element and the Lorna Lang element and the Lois Lane element, but it was the other DC characters they introduced. And I think that's where the success story is. Where's Connor Kent in the DCEU? Well, Smallville had their own version of Connor Kent. Now, what's interesting with Smallville, it really went against canon. My attitude always was, look, this is on another Earth. You know, it's a bit different. It's cool. But almost certainly Smallville got right what the DCEU got wrong. Jeff Hill, hi. Hi, Jeff. Very welcome to the live stream. We're talking about Smallville. I think it's the greatest, most successful live-action DC franchise of all time. I think it's got right what the DCEU got wrong. And I mean, to think about Smallville, because it was a bit of an experiment after all, but that pilot was very expensive. Those meteor shower effects you saw cost a lot of money for TV. So 8 million people saw it on launch on the WB. That was no mean feat. This was a teenager's channel. And I remember first watching this show, and of course we were starved of DC and live-action Superman for many years. And when I first heard they were doing a Superboy type of show, I thought, no, I want to see an epic Superman movie. But Smallville achieved more than many Superman movies have done, many DC movies have done. You know, bringing Lex Luthor into a pre-Superman story was controversial, but that was part of an adaptation of a 1960s Superboy comic where Lex and Clark are friends, and because of his jealousy of Clark, he turns evil and he becomes enemies with Clark. But that's just one comic. It didn't continue, but the whole point was it worked. How you like Superman and Lois? Jeff, Superman and Lois is very, very good. I like its originality. It's very original. It's different. Because of the budgetary things with a TV show, they focus on the family, which is a smart thing, seeing they don't have the budget to do the things that you see in a Superman movie. And so it's a great show. Tyler Hoechling's really, I mean, I liked him before, but he's done so well. And obviously Bitsy Tulloch's been amazing. She's been pushing the show on social media, got a lot of time for Bitsy. The young boys playing Clark and Lois's young sons are doing a great job. Of course, Jonathan is in the comics. The other son, Jordan, I don't think is in the comics. I'm not sure if I'm right about that. So, yes, Superman and Lois is awesome. Sam Dejan reviews, but Smallville was a TV show. They had time to do that. They had time to do it, Sam, but they did it straight off the bat. That's the thing. You know, you can plan a movie universe. You've got, you know, you launch your first movie and then you plan your other movie. Then you plan your other movie. So, yes, they had 10 years to do it. How long has the DCEU been going, by the way? 2013, 2021 now. In 2 years' time, the DCEU would have been going for about 10 years. I think it's an interesting excuse and justification to make. But the facts are there. Smallville achieved so much. They had their own version of The Flash, Aquaman, Arrow. I can't remember half of them. But, you know, they had a lot of characters in this show. As I mentioned earlier, Connor Kent. They had a really awesome version of Connor Kent as well. They did so many things. They had Zatanna. You know, they did a lot of things. They literally built their own Justice League. You know, the show finishes off with, you know, a set-up Justice League, right? We had a Martian Manhunter. I think the best live action Martian Manhunter, I think he's certainly better than the one in Supergirl. That's just my personal opinion. And, obviously, Harry, who's playing Martian Manhunter in the DCEU, hasn't had much time to blend. So I can't really judge him right now. I love Harry J. Lennox. He's a great actor. Sam Dejan reviews. If they took their way, would have done it right. But they wanted the Marvel money. They want to make money. Yes, they want to make money. That's the business. They're making films to make money. It's like why people sell groceries, to make money, why people have football teams and sport teams. Ultimately, it's about money. This is capitalism. I'm not a fan of capitalism. I'm a socialist. But at the end of the day, this is the world we live in. Jeff Hill. Smallville is a small, low-budget show, kind of hard to compare with a billion-dollar film franchise. But Jeff, you've just made my argument for me, right? It was a small-budget show, right? A small-budget show that achieved so much. The DCEU have got billions and billions of dollars. Why couldn't they achieve the same or more? That actually makes them look worse because they had more money to spend. Smallville's budget was really low, but the special effects were passable. The acting was terrific. The writing was on cue. 10 years of Justice League. Many DC characters, many cameos from people who have been in DC projects before. It was a great achievement, right? And it could have gone wrong in so many ways. I mean, the guys who created the show ended up taking Warner Brothers TV to court over the rights of the show, but these things happen. But at the end of the day, and there was toxicity between Smallville fans. There's no question about that. We had the Klarna, we had the Chlois. There was heated debates, but that's fandoms. That's everywhere. DC should have their own studio. Yeah, and you need the right people to run that studio, and it needs to be executed properly. Having your own studio and calling it DC Studios doesn't really solve the problem, but if you set it up properly, it could work. Look, Warner Brothers are not perfect. No studio is. And, the MCU isn't successful because of Disney, because look at the mess they made of Star Wars. The MCU is a success because Feige was already there when Marvel Studios was set up, before it was purchased by Disney. So he was already there. And, Disney thought, well, we'll have some of this. What do you think of Hamada's tenure so far? Jeff, apart from Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey, which basically he gave the power to Patty Jenkins and Margot Robbie, I think the other movies have done very well and they've worked. And those movies like Aquaman, Shazam, and of course the Joker movie have their fans, and he's done okay. And now we have to see about this multiverse strategy that they're doing. He, Jim Lee, and Ann Sarnoff, we have to see it and we have to judge it for what it is. What I'm certainly not going to do is throw it in the bin because I'm loyal to something else. The way WB can stop interfering. Walter Hamada had nothing to do with Aquaman and Shazam. Sam, you're wrong. He did. He came in when they just started on Aquaman, and they changed a lot of things for that movie. And he certainly had a little to do with Aquaman. But Shazam, he definitely was involved with the DC. He was DC film president when Shazam happened. Simple as that. So he's been there for that. I know it would suit the narrative to say that he only was involved with Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey, but that would be untrue. Jeff Hill, do you agree that continuing the Snyderverse is financially unsustainable? I don't know, Jeff, about the finances. Look, there's an audience for the Snyderverse. It would make money, but what kind of money would it make? So let's just imagine they restore the Snyderverse and it's over on HBO Max. They've got all the fans of the Snyderverse subscribing. Those people have been subscribing since that movie was green lit. So they would have stayed on HBO Max. They would have got views. Now, would more people would have got involved with the Snyderverse? Well, seeing the Snyder Cut was so successful and the response to it was positive, I think more people would have said, yeah, I'm going to check this franchise out. So I don't think it was financially unsustainable. I think the truth of the matter is that Zack Snyder and Ray Fisher were exposing Warner Brothers left, right, and center secrets, right? And you can't do that. And when you're dealing with big IPs and big studios, Snyder Cut made less than Wonder Woman 84 and Mortal Kombat. Snyderverse fans are a vocal minority. That's a very controversial thing to say. Yes, it made less than Wonder Woman 84 and Mortal Kombat. They're original brand new films, right? The Snyder Cut is a restored version of the original vision from the film we got in 2017. Very different. And of course, Zack Snyder is like Marmite. You either like him or hate him. So it was never going to make the money of Wonder Woman 84 or Mortal Kombat. There's kind of a dead argument, Jeff. So, and they're not a vocal minority. They are not. Listen to me, Jeff. How did we get over 1.5 million a trending tweet a few weeks ago? How did we get a million trend back in November of 2019? That's not a minority, my friend. Yeah. So it's not. They're not a minority. Definitely not. So it's sustainable. It would do well, but they don't want to work with Snyder because Snyder, unfortunately, when things public, exposed, tweets money. Yes, I understand tweets are different than money, but tweets are people, my friend. You understand that people tweet and people mean money. Walter shouldn't run DC. He doesn't know the comics. Give it to Jim Lee. Jim Lee and Walter are running things together. So there's a great producer and a great comic book man there. So that's actually a pretty good balance. But yeah, so just going back to Smallville, I mean, maybe you lot who are in the chat right now are not Smallville fans. I don't know. But I think if anyone who witnessed Smallville and looks back on Smallville knows that they got more right than wrong. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're making a TV show or a movie. Right. Unfortunately, you swore, Jeff, so I'm going to have to hide that comment. Jeff, listen to me, right? Let's go back to the beginning, Jeff, right? Let's go back to the beginning, right? When the DCEU was being developed, right, they wanted Christopher Nolan to helm the whole thing and write the movies and shape it like Faye did with the MCU. He said, no, I'm bringing Zack Snyder in. Warner Brothers didn't want Zack Snyder. So Jeff Johns was around, but he had no creative control. And as he told the Vulture publication just before Justice League came out, he said, I was trying to explain to them that what they were doing wasn't going to work. No one would listen to me. Jeff Johns comes from a certain ideology from the comics. Snyder comes from another ideology of the comics, right? And ultimately, Snyder was pretty much running the DCEU, even when Jeff Johns was president of the whole thing. He was fighting. He was fighting. He wasn't totally in charge. There was too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Who's running things? Snyder? Johns? Who? I'll do you a bet. Jeff. If Jeff Johns came in from the beginning on his own, I don't think anything would have been really effed up. And I genuinely believe, look at Jeff Johns, look at his comics, look at the Smallville episodes he wrote. Legion, one of the best episodes of Smallville ever. Absolute justice, an amazing achievement. That guy can write stuff, but he comes from another ideology from Zack Snyder. They are both apart and they weren't willing to come together. Nolan brings Snyder in. Nolan goes bye-bye after Man of Steel, and everyone wants different things. The critics are not happy. The mainstream audience are not happy. The diehard DC comic fans are not happy. How can you run like that? And it's all because Sugihara brought in Christopher Nolan, a man who's never picked up a comic in his life, even got David Goyer to read the comics for him when they were developing Batman Begins. That's a fact. I even remember speaking to a comic book guy who told me that it was David Goyer going in to get the comic books. So Nolan should never have been brought in. Nolan is great. He did a great job with the Dark Knight trilogy. He had no interest in running the DCEU. From that moment when he suggested Snyder, Warner Brothers should have said, no, we don't want him, right? So they bring their own person in, right, and things would have been different. But they didn't. That was their mistake. Nolan should never have been brought in. Nolan is a great filmmaker. But as a Godfather role, someone, you know, bringing in Zack Snyder, it's a mess. It's a mess. That's the problem. Why do you keep on blaming Zack Snyder? WB is the problem. I'm not blaming Zack Snyder. Zack does what he does. Everyone knows what Zack does. He wants to do films his own way, and he doesn't want the studio to be involved at all in the process. Unfortunately, Sam, when you're dealing with other people's IPs and money, you can't do that. Jeff Hill agreed about Nolan. I'm still convinced about Johns, though. Seems like he poisons any film he touches. He may be a great writer, but an awful film exec. I think that Geoff Johns didn't have a free rein. There was too many cooks in there, Jeff. But yes, Nolan should never have been involved with the DCEU. Totally the wrong person. But in Warner Brothers' defense, he did the Dark Knight trilogy. He did the Dark Knight, a film that most people love. I still think Batman Begins is the better movie, made less money, but I prefer Batman Begins. More Bale FaceTime, and I liked that. Jeff Hill, that's why he's relegated to Stargirl now, which he's doing a really, really good job at, by the way. Let's not forget that series is a success. WB has done it with so many directors, Tim Burton, Joe Schumacher, Zack Snyder, David Ayer, Richard Donner. Richard Donner did not work for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers were not running the Reeve films. Yes, they own the IP, but it was bought out from the Salkind family. The problems with Richard Donner were with the Salkinds. In fact, Dick Donner's had a great relationship with Warner Brothers. He came back to work with them to do the Lethal Weapon franchise. So even if you ask Dick himself, he'll tell you that himself. Now, I'm not saying Zack Snyder's a bad guy, but he's better off at Netflix where he can do what he wants, because Netflix don't get involved in the actual making of the films. They just buy up properties and bring people in. That's it. They're not interested in getting involved. But I promise you, if they own the DC IP, they will be interfering because it's huge. Okay, Big Mouth, if you were controlling WB, what's your plan for the next decade? Ooh, really? Can I control it? Can I control it? Well, right, if I was brought in after Justice League, I would just have cancelled the whole thing and started again. And I wouldn't necessarily start with Superman again. I think actually you start with something that's out of this world, and you give basically you create a Green Lantern universe. You do the whole OR thing. You do the whole Guardians thing. You set that whole franchise up, and then you go with the other movies. So what's my plan for the next 10 years, right? So I create the Green Lantern stuff, right? Then I interact the Lanterns with something that's happening on Earth. They come to Earth. Superman's there already. Batman's there already. All the heroes are already established when the Lanterns first come to Earth. Yeah, I agree. Should have reboot after Justice League. Yeah. But they've been trying to put, a Band-Aid on a gaping wound ever since Justice League. And you know what? Justice League was everybody's fault. Because if Zack and Johns and WB could have all sat together and said, right, we want a successful franchise. Let's sit down. Let's compromise. Let's all have our own way a little bit. There would be no Justice League. Zack would have been forced out, but no one wanted to come to the table. So, right, my 10-year plan. So we got the Green Lanterns. They come to Earth. There's an invasion or something happens. They come in. And, the Justice League is already formed, right? So we have this big, epic adventure where there's an invasion. Lanterns join the superheroes, whatever happens. Then we do a Superman movie. Then we do a Batman movie. Then we introduce all the heroes in their individual movies. Then, finally, in, I don't know, maybe the 10th year or something, because I'll be introducing quite a few solo movies, we'd have the Justice League movie as a 10th anniversary celebration. That's just me thinking of something off the cuff. Maybe I'll do something different if I had time to think about it. First of all, each hero needs their movies. They need introducing. You do not kill Superman in the second movie. You do not do a rebirth story in a Justice League movie. They should do Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, then BVS, then JL. Jeff Hill, that's kind of risky starting as GO instead of Batman or Superman. Interesting, though. Well, everything's risky, Jeff, but look, they started off with Superman, then they did Batman. How did that work out? So you can never tell, but that's about execution. Everything's about execution. When you're let me tell you something, Jeff, and everybody else. When you're dealing with iconic characters, you cannot fuck around with the public. The public are not idiots. Now, I'm sure all the public realize that Zack's a unique, great storyteller and a visual storyteller. Everyone realizes he's good, but you don't fuck around with Superman. You don't. You can't fuck around with Superman. You can't have Superman being anti-kids. You can't have Superman breaking someone's neck at an end of a movie. And why kill Zod? Why kill Zod? Michael Shannon was amazing. David Goyer wrote a great script. Everyone gives Zack the credit for Man of Steel, but it was Goya who wrote that. He actually had a writer's block during The Dark Knight Rises, and he did it. I thought his script was great. And the Codex thing, Snyder didn't even touch the Codex thing in BVS. You know, the Codex thing has great potential. You know, someone takes, you know, all of those billions of life forms from Cal, and then maybe it's Brainiac or something. You know, so much potential, and they haven't dealt with the Codex, right? Mistakes were made all over the place. You've got to get your creators right. The DC characters belong to everyone, and they've got to appeal to everyone, right? Now, I'm not an MCU stan, but I like the films and I understand what Feige's done. Now, will these films be remembered in 200 years' time? Maybe not. But they made their fans mostly happy. I know a lot of Hulk fans that are really pissed off with Feige, and I don't blame them. Ed Norton was perfect. Where does Abrams' Superman fit in all this? Will it be part of the expanded U? Well, I think everything's part of the expanded U. I think that's what the multiverse strategy is about. Now, where does his Superman fit in? It's interesting. I suspect this could be the Superman that joins Andy Machetti's Justice League ultimately. Hey, Mickey, it's Bobcat. I wondered where you were. Good to see you again, Bobcat. Well, I started this video basically saying Smallville got right what the DCEU got wrong. So if you've got any opinions on that, come in. If you want to talk about anything else, please feel free. It's a great live so far. I'm really enjoying it. So that's where I think Abrams' Superman probably is the universe's new Superman. I don't know what's going on with Cavill. I think he'll still be involved in a very limited space. Maybe, I think the rumor about the cameos has merit. I think he's definitely going to be in Shazam in 2023, Fury of the Gods. I think that's where we're going to see him. But I hope we see him in Black Adam as well. That would be awesome. I think they know they can't just get rid of Cavill. They probably know it's easier to get rid of Snyder. Rather, Cavill's so popular. I can't believe that Snyder was going to cast Joe Manganiello originally as Superman. I don't understand that at all. Anyone really think that Joe Manganiello would have been a good Superman? That actually scares me. When I first heard that, I thought, no. I think Henry Cavill might just do cameos, but they might be picky with what cameos he does. Yeah, I think so. I think he's there. He'll turn up. I think, listen, Cavill is too popular to be replaced. Yeah, I don't think he'll be replaced. I think he'll be around, but I don't listen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But I think, obviously, Abrams is a big part of the DC live-action universe now. And, obviously, he's involved with Zatanna. He's involved with this Superman. Superman needs his movies. Now, we're getting a Superman movie, but nobody knows what kind of Superman this is going to be. So let's see what Ta-Nehisi Coates gives us. Do you think Abrams will recast fresh slate? Well, I think, Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's writing this Superman movie, is a writer of color. He's a social justice writer. So everything's pointing to a Superman of color. I don't know, though. So we're looking at maybe a cast, but maybe not a new Superman that replaces Cavill, but a Superman as well as Cavill. I suspect that's what they're doing. Because Jim Lee said something very, very interesting at Fandom. He said one of the reasons for the multiverse is for representation and inclusion, and this Superman movie makes sense in that kind of situation. I mean, at the moment, on my Twitter feed, it's total WB hate, and it's the usual stuff, and some of the stuff isn't very true. I think if you want to be upset with WB, you absolutely have every right to be. But I'm afraid we're not there. We're not them. I want WB to come out and put their side of it. I'd like that. I'd like them to say what they want to say. Will we get a new Batman in the DCEU? Too often since Reeves' Batman is by itself. Well, it's official that Matt Reeves' the Batman is part of an official Earth 2, and I think Reeves will develop his own DC characters in that Earth 2 as well. I think that Keaton is going to be doing Batman Beyond. I think he will train Batgirl. Batgirl will be part of the new Justice League. And I think that's how it's going to work. But who knows? Affleck may have a future within the DCEU because nobody said anything. Ben's never even publicly spoke about his role. I don't think he's allowed to. So nobody knows if Affleck's actually leaving. Everyone's just assuming things. There's too many assumptions on the internet. You know, he could continue to be part of this franchise. Or after the Flashpoint, when the Flash reboots the DCEU, he may end up being on another Earth. So who knows? If they make a Supergirl movie, Henry Cavill might say okay to doing that so he can pass the role to her. Or he'll just share the role, or he'll just be part of it. He'll be another cameo for him, which would be awesome. Or she may share the screen with this brand new Batman. Jeff Hill and Affleck is out. We don't know. Jeff, we simply don't know. It looks like he's probably going to be out after Flashpoint, but we don't know until we've seen the movie. It's interesting how easily he wanted to come back. Sam Jan Reeves, Walter Hamada should come out and announce the projects. He will at Fandom. I see what you mean. He should be the one that comes out. Well, how it works over at Warner Brothers, it seems like they've got their media friends who announce things, and they have they have PR quotes from the people involved in the movies. What's up, Mick? How you doing, Manny V? If you're celebrating Greek Easter Sunday, I wish you well. Oh, you know about Greek Easter? Yeah, bit of a nightmare today. It's been okay, but yeah, thank you. Jeff Hill, how do you think Fisher handled the Justice League situation? Feel like he was right about many things about Joss, but he shouldn't have gone nuclear on Hamada and Johns. He went too far. Jeff, I agree. He went too far because Ray Fisher isn't really interested in anything else but Ray Fisher's propaganda. That's all he's interested in. So he going after Walter Hamada is what triggered me. I agree with him forcing the investigation. I at first I thought this guy wants justice. What happened was wrong. But at the end of the day, he's gone too far. He's exposed private conversations. He's mostly to blame for the Snyderverse not being restored, in my opinion. If Affleck is out, why are they doing a Batfleck series? Well, we don't know, Sam, if they're doing a Batfleck series. Bobcat. So New Justice League is Batgirl, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Green Lantern. And maybe the new Superman that J.J. Abrams is working on as well. I think there's going to be a few heroes. And I think Keaton's Batman will be an older statesman. Maybe he'll be the head of this New Justice League. So, but I think, Bobcat, you're along the same lines. I think it'll be in the comics and cartoons, the animated Justice League, there was loads of members of the Justice League. You can have as many members as you like. Hit the like button, guys. Thank you, Manny V. Thank you for doing my job for me. Please, yeah, hit the like button. I always forget that, don't I? If you like what you're seeing, hit the like button. That's interesting. Can you elaborate on that? How Fisher is responsible of the Snyderverse not continuing? Yes, it's quite simple. He was doing interview after interview with big publications, revealing secret conversations and secret things that went down. He was embarrassing the company. He was abusing the company publicly. What company is going to put up with that, Jeff? No company, right? Now, we don't know. Zach may have been egging him on. This might have been a part of a two-pronged attack. But ultimately, it seems like Ray Fisher and Zach wanted a bit of revenge. I don't blame them after the way they were treated. But if you're going to act that way, if you're going to act like a rebel, if you're going to act like Robin Hood, you've got to expect the Sheriff of Nottingham to come after you. Bobcat, I don't know how fans would react to the main Trinity now being all female-centric. Well, I don't think it will. Look, I don't know who exactly is going to be in it, but I think there will be a Superman as part of it, just not the Superman we're used to. Or maybe there'll be two versions of Superman in the Justice League. So I don't, obviously, Supergirl, Batgirl. But as I say, if Keaton's an older statesman, he's still there. He can be the older leader. So he's still there. And if they've got a Superman and they've got a Green Lantern, but why? I want a Jessica Cruz in the Justice League like in the comics. I think we're too political these days. I just think we need to bring these characters together and have an all. Look, what Andy Muschietti is trying to do and what Walter and Jim Lee are trying to do is a big project. They're trying to relaunch a franchise that hasn't worked for everyone, that is so toxic, that's so controversial. And if they do this, they've got my respect. If they can do this, they've definitely got my respect because it's a really hard ask. They were better off just starting again. Jessica Cruz needs to be in the DCEU. I agree, Sam. Jeff Hill, which DC film are you looking forward to the most? What we got? I think Flashpoint. I think Flashpoint's the one. that, he's going to change everything. I think it's a very interesting project. We're going to see a lot of iconic characters and actors who have been in other DC iterations. It's really exciting. I can see 2 Justice League movies. I think Matt Reeves' universe will be kind of what DC wanted to do in the first place. If they're allowing Matt Reeves to helm his own universe with his own DC characters, I think it would be amazing, Bobcat. Sanderjan reviews, they should the Flash reset the DCU and call it DC Year 1, like the MCU phases. Maybe they'll have phases, yeah. Maybe they'll have phases. And the time you'll hear from Walter Hamada mostly is yearly at DC Fandom. And I think the more the franchise gets successful, the more you'll hear his voice. Because in the early days, Feige didn't do much talking. It was only after the first Avengers you started to hear from him. Because at first, Marvel fans didn't like Kevin Feige. Sanderjan reviews, there were rumors of WB interfering with the Batman. They're not interfering with the Batman. Matt Reeves will be gone. This is the reason the film was delayed till next year, because he didn't want to share the stage of movie theatre release with HBO Max. So he said, listen, this is non-negotiable. I want to come out in 2022 when you're not breaking the release window. That's what. So they're doing whatever he wants. He's too big. He's too important to the franchise, and they're not interfering with him whatsoever. And as James Gunn has already said, they didn't interfere with his movie either. They don't interfere with a lot of movies. It depends on the director. If it's a studio built-up project like Mortal Kombat, they'll be involved. And they just employ a director to do the movie, but that director knows that they're going to have a say. Manny V, the Snyderverse is over because the higher-ups didn't like Zack's vision regardless of Fisher's statement. I mean, they even thought Zack was behind Fisher's attacks. WD but B don't want Zack, period. They don't. They don't want him, period. But do you think the Ray Fisher stuff, if you were Warner Brothers, how would you feel? How would you feel? It's a difficult situation. If he didn't push it. Look, if you go to war with a studio who owns the IP, what do you think is going to happen? Now, I agree with you. There was an uncomfortable relationship there for sure. We just got to look forward and hope for the best, guys. Yeah, I think so. But obviously, there's a lot of people who love Zack and only want Zack's DC movies. I'm not excited for Batman because that's the main reason Batfleck didn't get his movie. Well, you know what? I am extremely excited for the Batman. The story he's crafting is sensational. I can't wait to see it. But Ben Affleck's part of the Snyder regime. So, Bobcat, I think Robert Pattinson's Batman will be great. I hope this movie has at least like a Batman animated series in it. I guarantee you Reeves' Batman will be better than whatever Affleck would have directed. Well, listen, I've heard what Affleck would have done, and it would have been amazing. Deathstroke destroying his life piece by piece, maybe killing Alfred. I think it would have been a really compelling, Arkham Asylum themed kind of movie. I think it would have been awesome. I'm not saying it would have been awesome, and we may get it still. Who knows? But I think Affleck has got great qualities, but I'm really excited for what Matt's doing as well. Reeves is a better director than Ben Affleck. Well, Ben Affleck is a very good director, but Matt Reeves, obviously, is a genius. And he's a really nice, softly spoken man, a bit like David F. Sandberg. I like these new creatives coming in. It's not all about their egos. Manny V, I love Zack and I love DC. I'm excited for the forthcoming movies, and I'm excited for Zack's new movies, whatever genre they may be. I agree, Manny V. Bobcat, who should be cast as the Joker? So we haven't got a Joker at the moment, have we? Well, we got Jared Leto. I don't think he'll be used again by these people. Well, I would like to see a fresh face as the Joker. Oh, you know what? The kid from Gotham. The kid from Gotham was awesome. I would take a punt on him, especially with the multiverse strategy. He would be great. We've seen the beginning of his story. I would go for him. I forgot his name, but he's awesome. But I would probably go for a fresh face. Heath Ledger was famous, but not that famous when he got it. Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix was huge, but that was just a standalone type of taxi driver movie. But it worked, and it was brilliant. I hope we see Phoenix again. I don't think it's the last we've seen of Phoenix. And if anyone could get him involved, it could be Matt Reeves. So we'll see about that. But he's a very busy actor, by the way. He did it. He was a great Joker, and who knows what kind of stuff they could have done in the future. I mean, really, you could argue that the Joker could be a prequel to the Batman. Obviously, it won't happen, and the mathematics are probably all wrong. You like Ledger more or Phoenix? I like Phoenix. I think Ledger was amazing. I'm not as in love with the Dark Knight movie as many people are. I think Batman Begins is the better movie, but it was so successful. You know, he was an amazing Joker, but I prefer Phoenix, yeah. I like Phoenix. I like his story. I like seeing where someone started, their middle, and their end. Jeff Hill, I agree. Phoenix is phenomenal. So much nuance. Oh, my God. You know, he broke himself to make that movie. I mean, the diets, the arguments with the crew. I mean, he's very passionate. He can cross the line with his crews on set and stuff, but he really cares about the art. Manny V, whatever happened to the DC Black Label film? Weren't there supposed to be more after the Joker, or have WB stopped that plan? Well, it was never their plan. It was, what's his name? The guy who directed the Joker, Todd Phillips. He came in with the plan and they said, steady on, let's see how this film does. So I don't know what's going on there at all. I would think eventually something may happen there, but it has gone quiet on that front. But even if it's just a one-off movie, it's always going to be remembered. And plus, there was a lot of controversy with that movie. That may have scared the studio off. These things scare the studios. Controversies scare the studios. The reaction to Snyder's films scared the studio. It would scare any leadership of any company. It's a natural response when you're board members and you're holding the IPs and you're giving out the money. These are understandable things. I want Man of Steel 2. So do I. It's unlikely, but who knows? Anything's possible in this game. That's for sure. I can't wait. This is what I can't wait for. Army of the Dead to be on. So the Snyder fans who are not actually DC fans can move on. And we can still stop getting this dirty talk on Twitter all day. Which makes more money, Flashpoint or Spider-Man 3? Obviously, Spider-Man 3 comes out about a year before Flashpoint. You would imagine an established MCU franchise. This is a big film. People have been told by rumors and bloggers that we're going to get, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, and obviously we're getting the Doc Ock from the Raimi franchise and all of that. This is opening up the multiverse like the Flashpoint is opening the multiverse. You would expect Spider-Man 3 maybe to even gross $2 billion globally like The Force Awakens. It's that big. But I have a suspicion that Flashpoint won't do so bad. It will definitely, even if it's a bad movie, it will have a great opening weekend. But I expect Flashpoint to be a really good film. And I think Flashpoint could at least gross just under $1 billion, maybe 800 million, or something like that. I could be wrong. But you would expect Spider-Man 3 to do better. But that wouldn't be any shame on Flashpoint. Manny V, a DC Black film on the origin of Mr. Freeze would be great. Yeah, Mr. Freeze has got great potential. Man of Steel 2 can be on HBO Max. It could. I don't know how they could cast another Harley Quinn for Rue's universe. Oh, Bobcat's easy. I personally think there's a lot of bad feeling between Margot Robbie in the studio after the mess that her and her director made of Birds of Prey. Flashpoint has to make $1 billion. It would be a really good result. Let's see what the budget is as well. That's always important. Rue's universe doesn't need Harley Quinn. No, doesn't need Harley Quinn. But if he casts his own Harley Quinn, I'm fine with it. How many people have played Doctor Who, for Christ's sake, right? How many favourite doctors have you got? I've got plenty. So these things can happen, And when you're part of a multiverse, that's the whole point, to have more than one version of a character. And I think that Robbie's going to be busy with her, feminist Pirates of the Caribbean. Bobcat, I think that's all dependent on the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, I think, is the perfect storm. I think it's something that people want to see. James Gunn is a reliable director. Jeff Hill, thoughts on Eternals rooms. Will it be the first Marvel movie to win an Oscar? No. I don't. Look, we know where they're going with that movie, and of course, it's going to be very on point. It's going to be very, very focused on identity politics, because this is where the industry is going. And even if it wins an Oscar, it's irrelevant. The Oscars don't have that je ne sais quoi anymore, do they? Gunn should do a Gotham City Sirens. I think Gunn's going to be very much involved in the Suicide Squad element, so that could be his remit. Jeff Hill, I like the bluntness. Oh, thank you. I'm a very blunt person. I try not to be rude. But I don't hold back. I love a mad love movie. Oh, Bobcat, I'd love a mad love movie. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Do you like my bluntness, Jeff, or the film? I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my bluntness you like. It's just my natural persona. Unlike some YouTubers, I don't pretend. Jeff Hill, you watch Invincible. Do you know what? I was going to watch it today. I'm desperate to watch that. And then I realised they're 45 minutes an episode, and I didn't have enough time today. It was Easter. I was doing a roast. But as soon as I watch it, I'm going to review it on a live here. How about that? Everyone's got so many good things to say about it. David Ayer should direct it. Yusuf Ajuwan, Smallville animated series, maybe. Yusuf, I hope that Michael and Tom can get all of our supports, all the previous Smallville fans. I think we should create a hashtag because I think those guys could do something amazing. And I've got so much respect for Michael Rosenbaum saying no to Crisis on Infinite Earths. He created a great character there. And we saw what Berlanti did with Tom Welling's Clark Kent, not making him Superman anymore, taking away his powers. And I think Michael was right to say no to that. Bobcat, I'm excited for the Batman animated series supposed reboot for HBO Max. So am I. Will Tom Welling be in Flashpoint? It's possible, yes. Yes, it's all possible, definitely, Sam. Jeff Hill, David Ayer screwed up Suicide Squad. He doesn't need to direct more DC. Well, he reckons they screwed up his movie, but we'll never know. I don't actually mind the first Suicide Squad movie. Seeing it was edited by a pop music editing company, I didn't think it was that bad. Who's your fave Superman actor? Listen, Jeff, I grew up with Christopher Reeve. Without Christopher Reeve, I wouldn't be a Superman fan. That man, his performance and his physical abilities. And I think that if you look at the flying in Superman the movie as well, no CGI. You know, Chris was a glider pilot. The way he moved around, when he's flying after those missiles, no CGI. It's amazing. Chris will always be the top man because he's the one who made me fall in love with the character. But apart from Dean Cain, I love them all. You know, George Reeves, people like that as well. So, yeah, Chris Reeve, but I love Henry Cavill. Tom Welling, very special. As a raw young actor, to do what he did on that show was amazing. So, yeah, Christopher Reeve was perfect. And, you know, he was amazing. Lol, what's wrong with Dean Cain? Dean Cain blocked me. I don't know why. I think he blockchained me. And I never liked his Superman TV show. Never. And he did an interview once, years ago when I was a kid, and he said that his Clark Kent was cooler and better than Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent. And I'll never forgive him for that. That's disrespectful. And this was after the guy had the accident. So, no, I'm not. You know, for me, the only couple of good things about the Dean Cain series is Terry Hatcher and what's his name? Lane Smith, who played Perry White. Apart from that, the show, nah. Do you like Superman Returns? Yes, Jeff, I like Superman Returns a lot. And I remember all the marketing. I was so excited. I saw it so many times in cinemas. The big mistake of Superman Returns was cutting out the Return to Krypton sequence. I see it all the time on my bonus features before I see the film. That Return to Krypton sequence is sensational. And it brings about why, you know, the emotion of leaving Earth to go to Krypton to see if there's any survivors or whatever he was doing. But in the novelization, it's actually Lex Luthor who pays a scientist to trick Clark into going back to Krypton. And then this is how Lex gets out of jail and everything. And they cut these bits out. And that was problematic for me. Sam Dejan review, Superman Returns is boring, too long, and no action. It's interesting, isn't it? They complained about not enough action in Superman Returns, and they complained about too much action in Man of Steel. We never get that film that's got a balance, do we? But I like Superman Returns. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think the movie has issues, and it certainly didn't work as a sequel to Superman 2. But I like the ideas Singer had, that's for sure. Bobcat, I think they could use Clock King as a good Batman villain for a movie. Have him build in Time Machine and send Batman into it. And then Batman has to relive his past trauma as Batman and Bruce Wayne. That's a brilliant idea, Bobcat. Jeff Hill, how do you do Superman in the modern age? Seems like everyone tries to make him evil to be cool. The Boys, Brightburn, Nightmare, Superman, Invincible. Right. I've written a script. It's a long time script I've been working for. I've never pitched it. And basically what happens is we've got Metallo. I've got Metallo in my script. So what happens is, you know, John Corbin, Metallo, and Clark are best friends. They're working at the Daily Planet together. An accident happens, and then Luthor Corp pretty much makes John Corbin into Metallo. And what happens is Manchester Black and his boys and girls come in and demand that John Corbin, Metallo, is killed by Superman. No, because they weren't bored of a good Captain America, were they, Jeff? But yeah, so basically the world and Manchester Black are demanding that Superman kills Metallo. So then Superman starts having flashbacks to the Second World War, where the whole world were trying to pressure him into killing the Nazis, and he refused, and he was under a lot of pressure. And we see Superman in his Action Comics costume #1 and all of that. And basically the commentary of the film is Superman's no-kill policy, a bit like the Legion episode that Jeff Johns wrote of Smallville, where Clark basically stands solid and says, I am not killing Chloe. And this is the kind of thing we're going to get. It's a test of Superman's no-kill policy. I want Brainiac in Man of Steel 2. That would be awesome. So, no, they're not. I don't think they're tired of good Superman, because we haven't had good Superman for quite a while, have we? So, I don't think. You just got to do characters properly. As I say, Captain America. Thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision. WandaVision was great, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier was disjointed and too obsessed with its identity political commentary. Bobcat, I like that. You like my Superman idea? I'd like that. I'd like Superman to be under pressure to kill his friend, and to have, you know, the elite and Manchester Black involved, and putting the pressure on in the public for Superman to kill Metallo. And I like Metallo. You know what? Because he's not an alien. He's a domestic villain. And I think it's about time we had a domestic villain in a Superman story. Scott Edwards, what's up? Well, Scott, I'm doing very, very, very well. It's very hot here. Welcome to the stream. Jeff Hill, have you followed Max Landis and his Superman stuff? No, I don't know who Max Landis is. He sounds familiar, but no, I haven't. You can tell me about him if you want. I'm interested. Manny V, thoughts on fans interrupting the footy today? Well, I'm a big Manchester United fan, Manny V, and I think there was a lot of passionate fans trying to make a statement. They're no different to what the Snyder fans have been doing on Twitter. Now, the guys who were vandalising stuff, I can't defend that at all, but I think they made their message. You know, we want Manchester United run by people who want to make Manchester United successful and not bleed them dry. So I think they made the message clear, and they were chanting at the end, you'll play when we tell you to, when we let you. So I think the Glazers are in a lot of trouble. That Super League thing was a bad move. But if you compare the Super League format to the actual new Champions League format, actually the Super League, don't tell anyone because I'll get cancelled. The Super League format is a lot more easier, simpler to follow, and kind of awesome. Scott Edwards, can you read the Captain Marvel article I sent you? Well, I can't read it right now, Scott. Maybe in a future Big Mouth Daily I can do that for you. Right now, we're just having a geek chat. Basically, we've got the fire on, bunch of geeks around the table, and we're just talking about stuff and responding to each other's opinions in a constructive manner, unlike on Twitter, where people seem to just be getting upset all the time. So I'll read it for you eventually, Scott. Bobcat, I thought of a Harley Quinn film when Punchline keeps attacking Harley, who's independent, and the Joker, so they have to work together to stop her. But it turns out Punchline is working for the Joker. That's awesome, Bobcat. I like that. Scott Edwards, okay, cool. So did you like WandaVision better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Yes, Scott, I thought WandaVision had a brilliant beginning, middle, and end. I thought it was a great show. I didn't really have much love for Wanda and Vision before. This series gave me appreciation for those characters. I don't like Anthony Mackie. I don't think he's a very good actor. I don't think he's got great screen presence. I don't think he's got a good enough screen presence to be Captain America. I know Sam Wilson is Captain America in the comics. You just needed a better actor with stature. The guy who was playing Isaiah You know, that guy, Lumley, Cole Lumley, who was in Alias, he would have been an awesome, in his peak, would have been an awesome Captain America. Metallo is a good supervillain. Yeah, Metallo's a domestic supervillain. I like that. And I wouldn't write him as a total villain because I liked what they did with him in Smallville, by the way. I think Smallville did a really good version of Metallo. Another one, another great DC character that Smallville got right. A sensational show with so many achievements upon achievements. Amazing. They may never be outdone. And, you know, it's a bit of an older show now, but it's Jeff Hill. Margot Robbie is great, but how they made Harley Quinn a strong, independent woman is stupid. Her character is dependent on that toxic relationship with the Joker. I don't think there's anything wrong with her being strong or independent, but the commentary in Birds of Prey is very toxic. It's all about identity politics, and that look, these people are out of their minds. It's as simple as that, and they shouldn't be in entertainment. I'm planning to start Smallville season 3 tonight. Oh, good season, Scott. Look out for an episode called Shattered and Asylum. You're really going to like that. Bobcat, Brainiac would be great for Superman movie or a Suicide Squad movie. I agree. Yeah, Brainiac. We need an awesome Brainiac in an awesome movie. Ben Pottimore, Smallville Brainiac thoughts. Smallville Brainiac was very different to the comics, but James Masters nailed it. This is a budgeted version of Brainiac because they didn't have the money, the budget to do a skull ship. But his shit was awesome. The version of that character was awesome. I really liked him. Another DC character. I thought they had to do different, broke canon on, but he worked. And then we even met the good one, the good version, right? The Brainiac who comes back and tells Clark how he's got to let go of his past and all of that. But basically, James Masters has been great in whatever he does. And that Brainiac was awesome. Even though he's different to the comics, I think he worked. He was brilliant. I really liked him. Now, I didn't know much about Brainiac when I was watching Smallville Season 5 when he first appeared. I actually thought he was genuinely a nice guy at first. So it was really great. And that epic scene in the fortress when Clark and Brainiac fight for the first time, it's amazing. And it's really, Smallville was really emotional. Smallville made their fights emotional. They were short fights, obviously, because it was a low-budgeted TV show. But a lot of their fights had a lot of emotion in them. Jeff Hill, thoughts on Finn Wittrock as Green Lantern? Great casting, American Horror Story, Ratchet. So they're taking this thing seriously, and I'm very excited. This looks like a spanning, vast version for Green Lantern Corps, and I'm certainly going to give it a chance, and I'm excited. So that's very exciting, Jeff Hill. Very. For me, anyway. I'm going to give things a chance. I want to see these things, you know. My loyalty is to entertainment. My loyalty is to democracy, as Obi-Wan Kenobi once said. And it isn't very democratic to be biased towards one side. Scott Edwards, main MCU projects I'm interested in are Doctor Strange 2 and Captain Marvel 2. And Doctor Strange 2 has always been the one I've been interested in, Scott. And Spider-Man No Way Home. And Spider-Man No Way Home is the one where they're going to do a lot of changes in there. It's interesting. What's the future of Tom Holland? I think his contract runs out after this one. Maybe there'll be no Tom Holland Spider-Man. If they've got another 2 established Spider-Men, maybe they use them in the future. Bobcat, I have another. The Suicide Squad theory. I think Polka Dot Man might sacrifice himself so he isn't dying because he wants to die, but to save his new family. A bit like what we got the other character to do in the first Suicide Squad film. What's his name? The one who does the fire. Scott Edwards. Is Green Lantern Corps set in the DCEU? I think what you're going to find is, Scott, because we're in a multiverse strategy now, basically he can come from another Earth and he can be linked to the same franchise. That's the whole point. El Diablo. Thank you, Bobcat. Kind of like that character, but in David's Air version, he apparently doesn't die. So I want to see the air cut, by the way. I really want to see the air cut. And I don't see how that hurts them. They don't have to do anything. He just give it. He's got the movie. Let him edit it together. It's not going to take much for him to do it. But Anne Sarnoff said no, so we'll see. But it's not really up to her. But one day maybe. When things calm down, I think we might see it. They don't want to be looking to bending the knee to Snyder right now, so I get that. But there's a lot more projects to be announced. There's no question about that, and I think we won't get their plan until we actually see Flashpoint. Bobcat. That's the one thing I don't like about the Air Cut, which is basically nobody dies. That's true. That's true. But then again, I liked El Diablo, and I would have liked to see him again. It's a bit like the Michael Shannon Sod thing. The reason I don't want him killed, what didn't want him killed off, because it would have been nice for him to recur if the actor wanted to come back. Do you understand? So with Zod, you don't need to kill off Zod, right? People say, well, Superman had no choice. In the script, he had no choice, but you don't have to write that script. That's always been my point. We've lost Michael Shannon Sod now forever, unless he comes back via Flashpoint, but I doubt it. Scott Edwards, do you think we might get a big Arrowverse crossover announcement at DC Fandom? I don't know, Scott. Obviously, they'll be talking about, well, they'll be in the next season by then, wouldn't they? Maybe, Scott. I think it's interesting with Arrowverse. It does seem like there's not many crossover plans right now. That's probably because of COVID, but there may be a few announcements. Did you like Season 8, Doomsday? I liked the element of Davis Bloom. Sam Witwer, who's done amazing things with Star Wars animation and computer games, was a brilliant. I like the idea of making him a Bruce Banner who turns into Doomsday, and I like the element of that, and I liked his relationship with Chloe. I think that element worked. Unfortunately, because they didn't have the budget for a CG Doomsday, he didn't look as great as he could have done. But the fight with Clark at the end was pretty cool, and what happened with Davis Bloom at the end was pretty. So I loved the Davis Bloom element, and I think it brought great drama. And of course, Bride in Smallville Season 8 is an amazing episode. So many great episodes, so many great achievements with that show. Scott Edwards, weakest season of Smallville. Probably, Scott, in my opinion, probably season 10. I think Smallville doesn't really have weak seasons. I think even season 10 was okay. But I think if you're looking for the weakest season, and it doesn't mean bad by any stretch of the imagination, I would say season 10, because the rest of the seasons are amazing. They really are. Season 4 starts a bit light and fluffy, but then it really builds up. But yeah, Smallville was amazing from season to season. And I know the critics didn't like it from season 4 onward, but I did. I think they did a good job, and they moved the show on every year. It did start off as one way. Basically, Smallville was in kind of chapters in a way. Scott Edwards, does Chloe go back and forth between good and bad throughout the series? Right, because you've just seen the end of season 2 and what happened. You see kind of dark Chloe now and again. Chloe's more good than bad. Chloe's motivation is one thing. She's loyal to Clark. She loves Clark. She'll do anything for Clark. She'll die for Clark. So not only is she in love with him, but she really, really is a loyal friend to him. So that's her whole motivation until we get to season 9 when she meets somebody new. Let's put it that way. I don't agree with the team up they had with Chloe and this person. I didn't think it worked, but it happened, and it's an interesting take. But yeah, Chloe's mostly a good character, but she can get a bit dark and arrogant at times. And she may get some abilities at some point in one of the seasons as well, Scott, which is a very dark turn for the character. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult what's happened with the DCEU. Is Lana in the whole series? Lana stays in Smallville until the end of season 7. She recurs as a guest star in multiple episodes of season 8. Then you won't see her again. But you've got her definitely to the end of season 7. Ben Pottimore, I didn't like how Chloe moved on from Jimmy to Oliver so quick. That Oliver and Chloe relationship broke me. That really upset me. I know they did it for the cool kids of the CW, because at the time the CW were going down a channel for young women kind of thing. Bobcat, I love Suicide Squad game where you are like Amanda Waller and put together your own squad with different lower tier villains. But once a character dies, you can't use them. The rest of the game, that's a good idea, Bobcat. That would be an excellent game. If they're listening, maybe they'll take up your idea. I think that's awesome. I really do. Season 4 of Smallville is brilliant because we get into this legacy of the fortress. And I like the fact that Clark has to earn the right to build the fortress. I think that's a sensational move by the showrunners. Scott Edwards, what season does Lex fully turn bad? So season 3, we see kind of motivations to why he becomes what he becomes. Ultimately, near the end of season 4, we see a couple of things that kind of lead us to him going there. Season 5, he really starts to embrace it a little bit more, but he's in and out. Season 6 is the rise of Lex Luthor. That's when we see Lex Luthor and the experiments, and he's kind of bad in that season. And in season 7, he wants his redemption, but then he does something where there's no way back from. And season 7 is Lex Luthor's final season. Jeff Hill, fave Lex actor, Michael Rosenbaum. No question. Michael Rosenbaum is the best Lex for me. That's just my truth. I'm not saying he's universally the best, but I think you just can't go past Rosenbaum. He's perfect. He's comic book. He looks comic book Lex. He's amazing. If I ever imagined a younger Lex Luthor, a pre-Superman Lex Luthor, it's Rosenbaum. The look, the performance, the arc, the twisted relationship with him and his father. It was a sensational take. You don't get better than that. You don't. The guy should come back and play him in movies and everything. I was staggered they didn't give him a chance in the DCEU. Yusuf Ajuan, I want anime. Oh, I love a bit of anime. I don't watch very much, but I appreciate the art. Scott Edwards, are Clark and Chloe close friends through the whole series? Yes, mostly. They fall out now and again, but yes, they're close friends. Definitely, definitely. Season 8 tests the friendship, but yes, they're very good friends, and they always will be. And season 3 is Pete Ross's final season. Poor Pete Ross, he didn't get much screen time, did he? He was a tokenized character, unfortunately, but I liked him, and I think he deserved more. When he was given good stuff to do, you're going to get a brilliant episode with him, where he becomes a race car driver. He's really good. That's Fast and the Furious before we saw Fast and the Furious. But Smallville's amazing. Smallville was a great show. I just think the achievements, what they managed to do. I mean, to build a Justice League in a pre-Superman story, and to have a kind of watchtower and all of that, it's just sensational stuff on a small budget. The more DC characters the show brought in, the more people wanted. And I think most of the versions people liked. Favorite Arrowverse heroes? Well, there's two, and for me, it's Green Arrow in his first 2 seasons and Flash in his first 2 seasons. And I think the rest, I don't really. I think Black Lightning is very awesome. I can't believe they're getting rid of that show. Interesting, but who knows? He may turn up in movies. Maybe that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I think Oliver Queen is, especially in the first 2 seasons, is the best Arrowverse character. They watered him down a bit, unfortunately, for the CW girls, but in the first 2 seasons, Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen is the best character. It's pretty much like watching Batman Begins, especially in the first season. That pilot is so amazing, and I was surprised how good it was. But unfortunately, it's the CW, it's Greg Berlanti, and it all has to be watered down eventually. So yeah, that's my favorite Arrowverse hero, Green Arrow, and definitely Grant Gustin's The Flash was great in the first 2 seasons. That's when those 2 shows were at their best, and really they were just crossing over those 2 characters. And they expanded it, and then it became bigger, but they made a lot of mistakes, unfortunately, which is a shame. It's a big shame. But unfortunately, these days, when people are making entertainment is the last thing on their mind, and that's the problem. It doesn't matter what your politics are. Ultimately, there's ways of making commentary without smashing people over the head with it. Just because you're making commentary in a TV show or a movie doesn't mean your commentary is universally good. And so when you start talking down to people like they have to agree with you, that's a big problem. And it's the arrogance of the entertainment industry that really upsets a lot of people. And that's just my view. And this is the problem, what's going on these days. And Arrowverse do it a lot. Don't worry, there's no men there. DCEU didn't have the watch. DCEU didn't have the watch. What watch? Scott Edwards, have you ever watched Once Upon a Time or Grimm? I watched Once Upon a Time and Grimm. And Once Upon a Time is a bit like Flash and Arrow. The early seasons are brilliant, but then it all became about romances and ships, a bit like Lucifer. Lucifer started off really well, and then it went down the shipper thing, which is a shame. But they always ruin these shows, and they always embrace what the shippers want. But Once Upon a Time, what a great idea for the fairy tale universe. And Grimm was a really, really good show too. And that's where we first saw Bitsy Tulloch, of course. Yes, a great show. And of course, those two actors in Grimm are actually married in real life as well, aren't they? Which is Bitsy Tulloch and her husband from the show. So that's really sweet, isn't it? But Grimm was a good show. And Once Upon a Time, I mean, come on, Rumpelstiltskin was the best character, wasn't he? How amazing was he? Amazing. Brilliant show. Really enjoyed that. Jeff Hill, Bitsy Tulloch's Amy Adams versus Margot Kidder. Well, Margot Kidder was my first Lois. She's my favourite Lois. It's Erica Durant. Erica Durant is a sensational Lois Lane, right on cue. I think it's basically Margot and Erica, and then probably Amy. I think Bitsy probably would come last. Not that I don't like Bitsy as Lois. She's just it's who you experience when you're younger, I think. Scott Edwards, my favourite Once Upon a Time seasons are 1, 3, and 7. Cool. Cool, very cool. Great show. But yeah, I definitely think Margot Kidder and Erica Durant are top notch. It's another achievement by Smallville. They had a great Lois Lane. She really was good. She's a great actor and she really embraced the role. And Margot Kidder just really dictated what Lois Lane was going to be in live action in lots of iterations. And I think that even Terry Hatcher's iteration has got pieces of Margot Kidder's performance, and even definitely Erica Durant's performance. You can see aspects of Margot. Margot was a great Lois Lane. She went through some terrible stuff in her life. Many of it. Smallville was Lana Lane, right? Smallville was Lana Lang was in it, and Lois Lane was in it as well. Scott Edwards, favourite JSA members. Oh, Justice Society of America. So is the JSA the one with Dr. Fate? Because if the JSA is the one with Dr. Fate, then Dr. Fate's my favourite character. I don't know the JSA so well, by the way. But I love Dr. Fate. And by the way, Scott, Dr. Fate in Smallville. Oh, yeah. What a great version of that character. Again, something else that Smallville got right. It's there, it's facts, it's there to be seen. And there was a lot of pressure on Smallville as they kept on introducing characters and they had to keep on getting these things right. Absolute Justice was a very successful little movie event for the show. Great, I loved it. Awesome show. Absolutely sensational. I'll never forget Smallville. You know, as a Superman fan, as a DC fan, to see what they did with that show, and they earned the right to be a superhero show. They started off small. They started off character-driven, you know, sewing all the seeds together. They weren't in a rush, unlike a certain franchise. So Ben Pottimore, as much as I love Amel's Green Arrow, but there's something about Justin Hartley's Arrow. Justin Hartley was the first live-action Green Arrow, and he was sensational, and I was disappointed he wasn't coming back to do the Arrow show. But then when I saw what Stephen Amell did and what they were doing in the first 2 years, I thought, this is sensational. And Justin Hartley's done amazing for himself as well. Ben Pottimore, Terry Hatcher for me, she's a very good Lois. It's certainly not for me, but she's a very good Lois and a lot of people love her. I love her for Desperate Housewives. I think she's a sensational actor. And she was in Tango and Cash with Stallone and Kurt Russell as well. But she wasn't really there for any other reason but to be attractive. They used to do that in those days, unfortunately. Unless you liked watching attractive women in films. I'm not going to make a comment on that. Not in the days that we live in. Bobcat, I'm excited for Hawkman in Black Adam. I hope they introduce Hawk Girl and her and Jon Stewart have a romantic relationship. But for sure, I think we're going to see Hawk Girl in this movie. Yusuf Ajuwan, Young Justice Season 4. Is that coming? Is it happening? Is it a thing? I love Young Justice. I think it's great. All animated DC is amazing, mostly. So yeah, basically, we're going to, and that's another thing. We're going to get a lot more animated DC for HBO Max as well. The Harley Quinn show is amazing. Yes, Bobcat, the Harley Quinn show is amazing. It's a sensational piece of work, and I can't wait to see more of that as well. She's a brilliant Harley. I think she'd be quite a good live action Harley as well, by the way. I think I've said that on a few streams. I think she would be a really good Earth 2 Harley. She's blonde. She looks good. She's a really good actor. I think she could pull it off. She pulls it off in animation. She doesn't, it's not one of those vocal performances where when you see the people, you think, well, they look nothing like the character. I think she could do a good job as Harley Quinn in live action. And wouldn't that be sensational? That would be amazing. So who knows what the future holds? But a multiverse means you can have different versions of the same characters, which if you get it right and you don't confuse people, could be massive. Her and the voice actress for Poison Ivy, they've got to stay together. Oh yeah, definitely. She could be Poison Ivy in live action. I don't know what she looks like in real life though. Yusuf Ajuwan, Green Arrow, not Batman. Imagine turning Green Arrow into Batman. Well, actually, when they created Green Arrow in the comics, they did have Batman in mind. And everyone used to basically say he was pretty much a light-hearted Batman. So that's an interesting kind of perception you have there, Yusuf. But he was envisioned as a pretty much of a copy of Batman. I think I watched a documentary on a Smallville box set once, actually, and they was talking about that. So very interesting. If you research the history of Green Arrow, very much inspired by more of a jokey, because Green Arrow was a very jokey, light-hearted character in the comics when he first started, never as dark as he was in Arrowverse. And he was a little bit lighter in Smallville, wasn't he? I mean, Justin was a good-looking guy, and they played on his looks, but he was a great Green Arrow. And Justin's done really well in his career now. I'm really happy for Smallville actors who have done well, because they deserve it. They gave me a lot of pleasure with the show. They worked hard. Hardly any of them embarrassed themselves or the show or DC or those characters in public. And that's a great thing. Bobcat, I hope Journey's Black Canary is on the new Justice League. One of the best things to come out of Birds of Prey. Probably the only good thing, one of the few good things to come out of Birds of Prey. Please give her a decent costume, though. And Kathy Yan, I want you nowhere near that character. You're a good independent filmmaker. Go back to that. Because in terms of blockbusters and high-profile movies, your mentality is wrong. And they needed another director to come in and shoot your rubbish action scenes. And I'm sorry, it's a harsh industry. I don't want to be disrespectful, but the way you talk on Twitter is like you're the best director ever. And you certainly are not. Nowhere near. So we need to readdress the balance. And the future of these DC movies has to work now. There is no room for error. They've got the diehard Snyderverse fans breathing down their neck, waiting for them to make a mistake. Everyone's waiting for them to make a mistake. So it's very, very vital now that DC live action gets it right every time. And I believe that the Suicide Squad, in its first attempt, is a very, very good beginning. Definitely. So very excited about that. That's for sure. And I'm very positive. I'm very positive for the future. I'm sorry what's happened to the Snyderverse, but this is showbiz, I'm afraid. And Zack's got his own franchise on Netflix now. And I think the diehard fans who are not actually DC fans, but appreciators of the DC films that Zack did, that's great. And I think if you follow him onto Netflix and then you'll forget about the stuff that's happened on the other side, and hopefully you can move it. I'm sure you'll keep on making comments on Twitter, but at the end of the day, the studio holds all the powers. They hold the IP. They hold the finance. It's showbiz, not show friends. That's right, man. It's showbiz, not show friends. And when you look at the breadcrumbs of the DCEU and what happened from the beginning, from the inception, the decision-making process was wrong. I hope Idris Elba is good. I think him and Harley are the things I'm most excited for in the Suicide Squad. Yeah. I mean, you don't get better than Idris Elba, do you? What an actor, sensational actor. Really like him. I think he's amazing. I really do. What a great actor. And I'm a big fan of his Luther TV show as well. So yeah, Idris Elba is brilliant. Ben Pottimore, I love the Veritas Society story arc in Smallville. Oh wow, that was genius. I mean, they had the break because of the Guild Writers strike. So, and then they had to come back and they come up with the Veritas storyline. The Veritas storyline was perfect. The great end saga for Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor, and a good way to end the Lionel stuff as well. The Veritas stuff was amazing. The flashback they did was sensational. I used to cut Smallville together, and what I did with the Veritas flashback when we see young Lex Luthor and him spying on all these people talking about the Traveller, I actually stuck that at the beginning of Smallville pilot, and it actually worked. So you have them talking and everything, then you go to the rest of the pilot, and I kind of enjoyed doing it, and I think that made sense for the pilot. I did have another idea for the Smallville pilot to actually put together the very end scene in what's it called? Solitude, when not Solitude, whatever it is, I forgot what it's called now. But when Clark and Lex had their last conversation in the Fortress of Solitude, I thought I had the idea of it being a flash forward and then going back to the pilot. Nathan Cross, hi Mickey, nice vest, thank you. Very old vest. I haven't been clothes shopping for a very long time. So yes, the Veritas thing is amazing. Manny V, I guess I got to watch Smallville at some point. Manny, you have to. Look, here's my advice. The first season, the beginning of the first season is very kind of Dawson's Creek. You're going to have to be patient with it. But once you get into it and you get into the characters, you're going to love it. So keep faith in it. So definitely, it's more of a charming show at the beginning, but it earns the right to become a superhero show. That's what I'd say. It's not a superhero show at the beginning. It's pretty much sowing the seeds and what they're doing, but it's a sensational show. So, Manny, if you keep faith with the show, you're going to be rewarded. It's a sensational piece of work. It's universal. It's iconic. It's something that's going to last forever and pass down from generation to generation. It's a sensational live-action DC franchise, as far as I'm concerned, in the form of a low-budget TV show. So that's sensational. DC, you watch Dragon Ball? I'm afraid not. Oh, do I watch Dragon Ball? No. I've heard lots of good things about it. It's something else I need to get into, I suppose, so we can discuss it. But the other animated thing, Invincible, definitely got to check that out, haven't I? Definitely. Bobcat. Also, I know Harley isn't hired by the squad now, mainly because you see her file in the trailer. You have to wait and see. It's exciting, though, to have theories, isn't it? Definitely, Bobcat. Keep those theories coming. Anything is possible. Bobcat, maybe those are the crimes she would be charged with. Maybe, yeah, maybe. I'm not saying yeah, I'm saying maybe. Right, guys, I'm going to wind down for the night now. It's been a great live, though. I've really, really enjoyed it. It's been amazing. And I will be back tomorrow for the Big Mouth Daily and same time again tomorrow. So unless you've got anything else to ask me or any comments to make, I'm going to sign off for the night. But it's been a great live. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you've put on the comments. It's been great to talk about Smallville and these other DC projects. And my next mission is definitely to watch Invincible. So have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll be back tomorrow for the Big Mouth Daily. So see you again soon. Bye-bye.